London Real, sponsored by Bulletproof Coffee.
The big thing about ayahuasca is the diet and then the intentions, and you have to be really serious about it. And I had a couple friends of mine that went in for the ceremony, and I remember one gentleman who I was like, this diet's serious, man. I mean, like, you got to take it seriously. And he was like, I got a big bachelor weekend the weekend before, I'm going to go. And I was like, dude, that's really disrespectful to the ayahuasca. And I'm not even that spiritual guy, or maybe I am. I was like, that's not cool. And I do think it's very important to go in very mentally focused and to take that seriously to show that you're ready to go in.
Right.
Do you? Or you have different words about
the
that?
diet thing, I don't personally do anymore.
Okay.
I did. Here's why I don't. When I spent my month in Peru, I did the diet every single day for the whole month, and I actually started it beforehand. I think it was 2 weeks before I left. So no salt, no sugar, no spices, no fats, no oils. It was very bland.
It's really hard.
It is very, very
No
difficult.
caffeine, no alcohol, no nothing. Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, and I found that it was very hard to focus in ceremony because I was always thinking about my stomach. I was always hungry. I was very weak, very tired. I would have visions of food in ceremony, so it was very. It just took away all my focus on what I really wanted to focus on. I also lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
I was already underweight to begin with, so losing more weight was just not good. I think I went back home about 96 pounds, which is just not healthy at all.
Right.
And so when I did go back to Peru in October, and I didn't, I did the diet again for a while, and then just decided that I couldn't. And when I found that when I just ate normally, my visions were a lot stronger, vivid. I could focus. I wasn't gurgling. My stomach wasn't gurgling in ceremony, and it was a lot. It was a lot better for me.
What's normally for you? I mean, are you going back to McDonald's, or what's normal? Because you might already have a fairly clean diet and you don't know it.
Right. No, my diet's not very clean, to be honest. I had McDonald's before I came here.
Jesus.
Yeah.
How dare you?
It was only a wrap, but anyway. No, I mean, I didn't stuff my face with junk food and stuff. Oops.
That's a good sound. It's interesting because we had Dan Hardy in here, who's a UFC fighter, and he had a few questions about the diet as well. And now that I've done it 3 times, and I've also had some psilocybin experiences where I fast only that day, and the thing is with the ayahuasca diet, it's probably been passed down for thousands of years, right? And it's kind of like this old wives' tale, like, don't do this, and you really wonder the science behind some of this stuff. Like, I get some of it. I get the sugar and the gluten and maybe some crazy spices, but I don't get other things that probably are still going to be all right. And everyone who goes down to an ayahuasca ceremony loses massive amounts of weight. Like, if you're doing the ayahuasca ceremonies and doing the diet, then it's not sustainable. You will probably starve, right?
Yeah, well, I've actually asked a few shamans about the diet, and they really don't know anything about it.
Okay.
It's what I've heard is that it was brought in by the Westerners.
Interesting.
What it is really is, traditionally in the jungle, they don't eat the kind of things that we do.
Right,
They don't have access to it. They have rice, they've got fish, yucca, just plain simple things. Not because it wasn't meant to be eaten before ayahuasca, it was just because there wasn't any access to it. So when the Westerners came in, they sort of took that on and made it a diet sort of thing. But I mean, there are certain foods that do need to be avoided because of the reaction that they have with the, I think it's with the MAOIs.
Okay, like what?
There's cheese, there's red meat, red wine, or alcohol in general, really. Chocolate. What else was there? I don't remember the other ones off.
Okay, so when you go on your retreats and you take people down, do you kind of give them that advice? Do you say, do the diet? Or do you tell people the first time to do a diet? Or do you just kind of say, avoid these foods?
Well, when I was doing the retreats, I did tell them to follow the diet because it was the center's rules anyway. Okay. I mean, they didn't have food other than what was allowed on the diet anyway. But when people come to my center that I'll be starting, it's up to them.
Okay. I think there's some kind of discipline in the diet that's good too. I think especially for first timers, where it's like, okay, if you want to do this, you have to kind of sacrifice something to show yourself that you're ready to take this. Because so many people in this crazy city will be happy to take any pill or any liquid if it's going to potentially make their life better. So it's like you have to make a sacrifice. And a lot of people find a week's diet to be a pretty heavy sacrifice. So sometimes, and also the other thing I wrote in my first and only blog about ayahuasca is that since you're thinking about food and drink probably every few minutes in your life, then you think about your ayahuasca ceremony like every minute of the day for a week. And I think it's built in as a mental preparation process. That's my theory. So, but you know, if I would go back again, I think I would do a heavy diet. My first one was 10 days and then my first one was 8 days. I would probably just eat intelligently and then do something for 3 or 4 days, you know. And I think my last ceremony, I did that, you know, so.
All right.
This week on London Real, we have American businessman and financial commentator Peter Schiff.
If I make $100 million, I had to create a lot of jobs to make that money. That's the point.
Property prices are too high, stock prices are too high. They have to come down.
You know, the banks, they know what they're doing, but if they knew what they're doing, how'd they cause the crash?
Our whole economy in the U.S. is based on debt. It's based on borrowing to consume, borrowing to speculate.
We don't have a genuine recovery. It's phony.
All the Fed did is blow some air back into the deflating bubble.
People should make themselves more aware of what they need to do so they don't end up losing their pension, end up losing all their savings.
We're starving Main Street for capital while we're propping up Wall Street.
Relying on hope is not a strategy.
On Sunday, London Real presents Peter Schiff, Market Crash 2014.
It's not that I want bad things to happen. I just know that even worse things will happen if we put it off.